Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. I hope you are having a great day. My first interview of today is going to be with Barbara Lynn Probst, who wrote The Sound Between the Notes. Very excited to be with her today and hear all about how this story came about for her. It's a beautiful cover, and I just love the name of that book, The Sound Between the Notes. Clearly, it has a music theme throughout and just a really warm story about family and adoption, and brings up very interesting points that I wonder where these different ideas and life circumstances come from. Hello, how are you?
Oh, I can't believe I actually made this work.
Yes, you did, and you did it seamlessly. So good to be with you.
Same here. This is going to be like so much fun. I've heard that your show is the best.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you for saying that. Well, your book, The Sound Between the Notes, such a beautiful book and such a story highlighting music. Was music always a theme in your life?
Well, I was one of those kids that took piano lessons when I was little, and, I only kind of rediscovered it later on when I was an adult. But I have when I was looking into my family history, I found this amazing picture of my grandmother, great-grandmother, 100 years ago, playing the piano in Poland. Like, is that not cool?
That's so cool. And
Yeah.
is that sort of where the impetus came from for the book?
I don't know. There were so many this was one of those books that had several things that kind of just came together. But I actually remember when the story idea came to me, I had just gone back to studying piano kind of seriously. Like, I found a really amazing teacher, and I was going to, finally at the place where I was going to take it a little more seriously. And I felt something about it. So I was there in the bathroom and I was like reaching up to the medicine cabinet, and my hand sort of cramped. And I thought, no, not now, of all times. So that moment, you can see that in the book with my protagonist, where just when something is offered, the very worst time, she feels that her hand is going to fail her. So I remember that moment.
And that became like, what would life be like if this went down this road?
Exactly. It's like, what's your worst nightmare? There's something happening at the very worst moment, and then you're faced with, what do I want? What will I do or pay to get what I want? All of that suddenly is in play. It's not just in your mind, but it's really in your life.
Yeah. Your first book had more of a theme of art. So is art also a big theme in your life?
No, but that book, actually right behind me is one of Georgia O'Keeffe's paintings.
Yes, I was wondering.
I really had known nothing about O'Keeffe when I started that book. And I learned about her, and the more I learned, the more it kind of told me where the story had to go. But that book really came out of this question as a woman of how can I embrace my brains and my body, my beauty. And so it was a very personal journey for me. And O'Keeffe just kind of came into my life as the vehicle to frame that woman's story. Whereas with this one, I think that the elements were present. I mean, adoption, I'm a mother by adoption. The question of ambition and wanting to feel chosen, and what is family, all those elements were already part of my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So my sister is also adopted. So talk about that journey for you. At what point did you decide to adopt? How old was your child when you adopted? I'd love to hear a little about your personal story.
Well, I will preface it by saying that I have no problem speaking about myself, but I guard my children's privacy, and I won't speak about them. But for myself, because actually my journey as an adoptive mother is so integral to my publishing journey, because I did other things. I was older, I had a kind of crazy, I mean, I've lived everywhere. I've done everything you can imagine. So I was like, okay, well, so maybe motherhood isn't in the cards, although I always wanted it deep down. So anyway, when my then husband, this was a prior husband, and I started investigating, fertility. And I had this kind of moment where I felt it doesn't matter how my children come to me. What matters is how we are as a family, is the privilege of raising them, of helping them be who they are. And it was very, very profound for me. I had to give up the way I thought it was going to be and embrace motherhood, because no one meeting us in the street knows how my kids came to be in my life.
Absolutely.
So I share this, and I'm so excited to know that it's part of your life too, or your family.
Yeah.
That my publishing journey was the same thing, because I started out thinking that the only way to publish was traditional. And I saw what was the obstacles, the odds, and all of that. And I said, no, what matters is getting my books in the world, because the reader doesn't care. Same thing. The reader sees my book, right? Here we go, here's my beautiful book, and doesn't know how it came to exist. The book has to stand for itself, speak for its own merits, the same way that my kids. So it was, this whole adoption theme is very deep in so many parts of my life that, so I think that's really and of course, the question you always have of, am I a real mother? Do I matter enough? What is the connection? And to embrace all of it. Like in the book, Susanna embraces her biological origins, the people who raised her, the family she has made with her husband and son. There's so many parts of family.
Right. Absolutely. Yep.
You didn't know I was such a talker, did you, Julie?
Well, no, you're totally right. And yeah, adoption, is a piece of it's the way the child comes to you, but you get to be a mom and love them in the same way. And what is motherhood, and why do we want it? So those are really great questions that sounds like you had to go through and really realize, it's really the same thing. There are little differences, but you can have it all different ways. Your publishing, I love that.
Yeah, I was going to say that in the sound between the notes, of course, Susanna is grappling with what does it mean to have a mother, and also to be a mother, to be a new kind of mother to her own son, who's changing. And, I have this thing in a way, she has three mothers, because her music teacher is a kind of mother, a kind of midwife, perhaps, to her inner voice. So people can be mothers to us, nurtured in so many different ways,
Absolutely. Yes, I have definitely collected some over the years. And for my kids, that's funny that you bring that up about the music teacher. When I was looking for a violin teacher for my kids, I specifically thought, I want a violin teacher who is going to be so connected and act as a mother-like figure, as well as a psychologist, be more than just that music teacher. And sure enough, literally the next week, I met somebody who told me about his daughter's violin teacher, and that now the daughter was at NYU, and I live here in Southern California, and that every time the daughter came back, she went to visit the violin teacher to have a chat. And I was like, that is the number that I want, right? Because, and I've seen that it is about so much more than playing the violin. They want to go to update her on the week.
It's so interesting because again, you've read the book. So people ask me, what does the title mean, right? And Mozart is famous for saying that the music is not in the notes, it's in the silence between the notes. So I have a play on that. It's it's not well, let me take a side trip. I couldn't write this book till I became a better pianist. I didn't have to become a better writer. I had to become a better musician to understand something that my character, how she would see the world, and her discovery that it's not getting the notes right. The notes are just a pathway to the music, which is about life itself, which is heart and mind and body. And right, if you play an instrument, you need your body, you need your feeling, you need your intelligence, you need your attention. And so this journey that is not the notes or the pieces, right, but it's the whole of my life as a human being.
Whole being.
So that really is, in a way, the message of the book through the metaphor of music.
Yeah.
So to me, it's just so important. And I have the privilege of having a great teacher who has a great teacher. And I hope that you look up Seymour Bernstein, who is the most incredible man. He talks about the study of music as a way to play life more beautifully.
Oh, love that. And how have you learned to play life more beautifully?
You have to have a sense of humor.
You're so fun.
It's really true. Well, here's the story about this book, which to me is interesting. But I had written this book before, and it was going to be published, but something in me said it's not good enough. So I had Susanna, kind of angry as an adoptee. Why did my birth mother not want me? Why wasn't I good enough? All of that anger or kind of bitterness.
Yes.
And then when I took this special music seminar, I realized you can't play music if you're angry. You know that, yes, right? And my character, my protagonist, was all wrong. If you can only play music if you want to give, if you want to serve, be a vehicle for something else, and give generously. So that was the lesson that this book, the process of writing, that this book gave me as a person.
Yeah. I would imagine that writing is a lot like music. Isn't it harder to write when you're angry?
That's interesting.
Especially if you have, your outline in mind and you're going down a certain road, but you're angry about something else. Is it hard to get in the zone, or is it not so hard?
Well, I can only write if I'm in this obsessive state that really where I'm immersed in the story world. No, I don't mean all the editing, because that's a whole nother endless. I'm like so type A about that. I think I had more changes to my arc than the publisher had ever seen. But anyway, but when the story is emerging, you really have to just be completely, give yourself. To me, the way I see it is a combination of, I would say, your cerebral mind that has a plan. You have, what you're doing.
Yeah.
But this also intuitive mind or subconscious,
sure,
speaking to you and letting the characters kind of tell you what they need, right, and surprise you. Yeah. So I see it as being a strange kind of dance between the two minds that you just have to give yourself and trust and be willing to be wrong, be willing to throw out your pages. It's right, the best. I love it. I love writing because it's so interesting.
And tell us about your writing process. Do you spend like 8 hours a day writing? What's it look like for you?
It really varies. I'm very, I have no routine, because if I'm into something, I will be up at my laptop till midnight when I'm just in it. And other times, I might take a walk and get an idea about a couple of paragraphs and write them down. But I don't make myself have any particular because it's organic. And so interesting, like some scenes will write themselves and require very little revision. And other scenes you're just agonizing and you just agonize. And then you think you've got it and you look at it the next day and you go, nope.
And what do you do in that moment? Like when you look at it and go, nope, this isn't it. Do you sit there and like keep working with it, or do you leave and go take a walk or put it down for a day or a few days?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's really hard. It's like I don't want to give it up, like I cry, like I want to keep it. Sometimes I'll put it in a separate little file rather than deleting it because,
because it's your creativity. It's like your artwork, right? Like you're not going to take a canvas you do and throw it in the trash because it didn't turn out the way you initially imagined.
Well, think of it this way, though. If you're playing the violin, you're practicing while you're learning a piece. You're not going to record every single practice session. So it's kind of, sometimes it's like that. It's a process. You have to just let it go. But I have learned, though, to save some of these because sometimes there's a gem in there that you need later. So don't take out the trash too quickly. Just save it, but don't hold on. But for me, I get my breakthroughs when I'm in my body walking or gardening or in the shower is like the best one, where the mind is just kind of relaxed.
I see. And things just come to you easily and naturally.
Yeah. And then sometimes, one thing that fascinates me, some of the characters just appear, like in this book. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm an educated, overeducated New Yorker, right? But the Texas characters, they just came to me. They needed almost no change. They were so alive immediately. You probably felt that. And I had more trouble with her husband, who I made him kind of a jerk too much. I had to like humanize him. So
where did your Texas characters come from? Do you have friends in Texas?
Well, actually, my daughter's birth family is from Texas, but this is not them. But something about when I met them must just ingrained in a deep part in me. And the other thing that I tried to do in the book, and again, I hope you felt this, that there are no villains. Everyone is trying to do right as they understand it. So you have to find the part of each character that you love. It's worthy of love. Yeah. Even her husband, like he just, took me a long time to figure out what was motivating him. Mm-hmm. And when I understood finally, it's like, oh yeah. Now I got to go back and change early chapters, because now I know him better.
Right. That's so fascinating to me. It's like you plan it out, you plot it, and yet it takes time for authors to get to know their characters and listen to them.
That's right.
It's like a real relationship. It's like a human relationship that you're working through and getting to know them. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and then there's how sad you are when the book is finished.
Right, and you keep wanting to like call them in and talk to them and go have coffee with them. Yes, I've heard that.
And that's why talking to you is so much fun, because I'm getting to return to my characters through our conversation. So you realize how meaningful this is to someone like me. It isn't just, buy my book, but it's a chance for me to get even deeper. Sometimes I'll get an insight when I talk about the book that oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I knew that,
Absolutely. Yes. I have a good friend who's watching, Tammy. Tammy has written her first book and is getting it published. It's very exciting for her. But so much fun to be with you here today. I absolutely love your energy and your warmth and your enthusiasm. You are so special. Are you working on your next book right now?
I am. And I'm kind of not talking about it, but I will say this much, that the first book was framed around art, also photography and painting, both actually, because of O'Keeffe's story with Stieglitz. And this one was framed around music. So I thought, well, I'd like to find another art form. And I didn't know, and I got this inspiration. This was during the isolation, about glass blowing. Is that not cool? So
Very cool.
I took a lesson and I interviewed a lot of glass blowers, and I went to Corning, which is the big institute in New York. And I'll only say that much about it. It's a love story. And so I hope someday to take some more glass blowing lessons, but it had to stop because of COVID.
Oh, well, you could go be a glass blowing teacher at the camp in Maine that my kids are going to this summer.
You know, what's better than playing with fire, right?
My kids love the glass blowing class. Yeah, and they make beautiful things. So how fun that your next book centers around that. That is great.
Yeah.
So good to be with you today. I look forward to your next book and meeting you again soon.
Thank you so much. This was great.
So much fun. So much fun. Take good care. Have a great day. And do you have your book with you? Do you want to hold it up? Yeah, hold it up again. The sound between the notes.
Cover
it's a gorgeous cover. I love the colors that were chosen.
Okay, thank you so much.
Take good care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Bye-bye.